with our next speaker, let's soar high into the skies with the imminent aviation developments. Please welcome Ms. Radhika Bhandari.
Radhika Bhandari is a dynamic aviation professional and academic leader, currently serving as the Dean of Aviation at Indus University and Director of Western India Institute of Aeronautics Private Limited, India's only women-led aircraft maintenance engineering institute. With a background in metallurgical engineering and a postgraduate degree in management from Warwick Business School, UK, she is deeply committed to promoting diversity and inclusion in aviation, aeronautics, and defense aerospace.
Beyond her professional pursuits, she is a trained Bharatnatyam dancer, rifle shooter, and horse rider, embodying a disciplined and creative lifestyle. Passionate about India's intellectual legacy, she advocates for integrating traditional knowledge systems into modern education to create a more holistic and culturally rooted learning environment. So please put your hands together to welcome ma'am.
Thank you for having me here today. Before we begin today's talk, I would request everybody from the audience to make it a bit interactive because there will be some questions that I ask you and whoever answers at the end of the talk will be able to get an aviation goodie. So let's begin. Good morning. What comes to your mind when you think about the word aviation? Is it the thrill of flying? Is it the roar of an engine? Or is it that one uncle who always talks about his horrendous turbulent story every single time you meet him? For me, aviation is much more than flying. It is about the safety, it is about the passengers, the technology, and most importantly, it is about the imagination. A great source of inspiration for me is my father, who is a spine surgeon and an educationist by profession. He pursued his passion, childhood dream of flying by pursuing a private pilot license. I got into this field because I was highly motivated by his technicality and his passion for aviation. I did my engineering in metallurgy, an area where women are less represented, but I studied about the metals and different material science that actually led me to understand aviation from scratch. I learned about the honeycomb composite structure, which goes into the floorboards of making an aircraft, the rudder, the wings, and I try to understand it from a very, very fundamental level. I have always believed in leading a life wherein you can bring a lot of your multidisciplinary skill set onto the table and at the same time lead it in a very balanced way. For example, if I learn to be a Bharatnatyam dancer, rifle shooter, and a horse rider, I think aviation is the same. You can enter aviation if you are passionate and if you have a lot of multidisciplinary skill set and bring that to the table. You don't need to have a license or a particular degree or a particular skill set. Let me give you a very fine example. For us Indians, it's a matter of pride that we have the highest female commercial pilot license holders in the entire world. Can anybody tell me what is that percentage? Okay, that is 15%, and the global average is only 5%. So this is where, when opportunity meets passion, this is what the result is. So today, I am not only going to take you at 30,000 feet up in the air, but into the future of aviation. So raise your head high, keep your hands up, because today, this is not going to be a flight where there is turbulence. I am only going to present you with fresh ideas. Let's have a look. always admire pilots, but we rarely talk about the engineers who are working round the clock from the ground and getting the aircraft ready on time. Does anybody know what an aircraft maintenance engineer does? Okay. So an aircraft maintenance engineer is the backbone of the aviation industry. These are the engineers who certify an aircraft to fly and make it airworthy. Without their permission, even a pilot cannot take off. So this area of the aviation industry, it is known as maintenance, repair, and overhaul of the aircraft. Think of it as healthcare of an aircraft. So we trust doctors with our lives, and the airlines trust these engineers to get the aircraft ready on time. Before each and every flight, there are inspections, checks, rules and regulations that are followed, and this takes place every single time an aircraft takes off. This is not just routine for us. It is about either getting it right or either getting it wrong, which is making the aircraft airworthy on time. We are dealing with lives of passengers here, 300, 400 passengers flying on a Dreamliner. That is huge responsibility for us, and we have to ensure that the technicality is up to the mark. Maintenance is not usually glamorous. It is often done at 3 a.m. in the morning, often on a cold tarmac, where the engineer is bent over and trying to get a very stubborn bolt running, and also trying to fix a very tricky avionics problem at the same time. But these hours, the invisible hours that the engineer is working upon, are what makes the aviation the safest mode of transportation in the entire world. So, with the advent of AI and drones that are taking place, maintenance has evolved from just being a scheduled maintenance to being more of predictive and preventive maintenance. So when that is done and a component is faulty, it alerts the aircraft maintenance engineer to change it. So we understand that pilots are the face of aviation, but aircraft maintenance engineers are the heartbeat of aviation. Let's have a look. So, aviation is not about just aircrafts. There is a larger canvas which is at play here. That is aerospace, missiles, satellites, rockets, space tourism, and most importantly, defense technology. India has already showcased its tremendous capability with the successful ISRO Mars and Moon missions. And very recently, we have seen India's defense capabilities in Operation Sindoor. I once met a very senior ISRO scientist who had visited Sriharikota during the launch window time. And he told me that the buzz around during that time is like an airport. But instead of just boarding calls, it is the countdown of a rocket launch. And he also said that when the countdown happens and when the rocket launches and the entire humanity when it watches it, that is aerospace. Aerospace is borderless when it comes to humanity. So we must understand that in the aeronautical systems, when we talk about full authority digital engine control system, that is the heart and brain which automizes the engine components. Traffic collision avoidance systems, these are systems based on AI that ensure that the aircrafts do not collide. In missile technology, we can see that AI, it is utilizing for trajectory and algorithms, and in an instant, the trajectory can be changed. That is the level of precision. When we talk about rocket propulsion, so it ensures that AI oxidizes and powers the thrust through. At the same time, I think all of you know about the autopilot systems in aircraft that ensures that the turbulence is maneuvered better than human reflexes. So then there are weapon systems that are there. Now, the battlefield has completely changed. It is not about human reflexes anymore. It is about the speed of the machine. Reconnaissance systems are there that take images in the blink of an eye. Then there are AI-powered hypersonic missiles that are being developed in different countries. AI-enabled drones are now like flying around in swarms. I know this sounds like a very sci-fi movie, but we must understand that military inventions then get converted into civil aviation inventions. Let me give you an example. Global positioning systems, composites that are used in different materials, and also weather system radars. These were all military inventions previously, and now they have become civil inventions. So when you sit in a passenger jet tomorrow, think that this technology already exists in the military aviation. So my parents always joke about that why do we talk about Mars when there are potholes that have not been fixed on Earth? And I say, that's because there are no potholes in the space. Let's have a look. So we can see from pilots to cockpits, and now it is changing from algorithms to command control centers. Let's talk about drones. 10 years ago, drones were considered to be mere toys. But now, these drones have infiltrated each and every sector of our life, be it logistics, be it security, agriculture, healthcare, and more importantly, now it is aviation. Drones has become a global billion-dollar industry. But for India, do we just be as buyers, or do we become creators and innovators in the drone technology? There is a very interesting segment that has now come out to be in the aviation and drone sector. It is known as aircraft drone inspection. Do any of you know what aircraft drone inspection is? So I would just like to say that when engineers climb on top of the aircraft with ladders, this is what is being done currently. They inspect manually the entire aircraft for any visual defects. And this takes about 8 hours. But now, because drones are fitted with HD cameras, LiDAR technology, and also digital twin imaging at the same time. So what that does is, when the video is being taken by the drone as it flies over the aircraft, it creates a simulated picture which flags off if there are any defects that need to be repaired. And this takes only 45 minutes. So you can imagine from 8 hours, it has now reduced to 45 minutes. Airlines in Europe, America, Singapore, they're already doing all of this adaptation of the technology. India has ordered more than 1,500 aircrafts at the same time. So, as and when our maintenance, repair, overhaul sector of India rises, our adaptation of this technology will also rise. Because to do MRO, we need many, many engineers. And now that has become a necessity for us. I asked a young trainee what it means to fly a drone. And she told me that it feels like holding a bird in your hand, except the only difference is the data is being transferred to your laptop. So I would just like to say that engineers complain about night shifts, but drones never do. Let's take a look. aircrafts have now become flying supercomputers. Let me give you an example. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which carries about 300, 400 passengers, it has about 8 million lines of software code. And an F-35 military jet has about 22 million lines of software code. Each and every line of the software code is susceptible to a cyber attack. Global studies suggest that in the year 2020, there was 61% of cyber attacks that took place in the aviation sector alone itself. And this data has risen to about 131% in the year 2022 and 2023. So you can imagine what sort of a threat this is. In the year 2017, 4.1 billion passengers traveled by air. And it is also projected that in the year 2040, about 10 billion passengers are going to travel by air. About 35% of the entire world trade takes place by air. So you can imagine how much care and security we have to ensure that the passengers are traveling safe. So I attended a cybersecurity GPS spoofing drill that took place. So the entire room was calm, serene. Engineers were just typing away, and suddenly we heard codes compromised. So for a split second, it felt like a hijack. But in reality, we understood that the hijack did not happen by force, it happened by code. So you can understand that now the battlefield has changed. We're not fighting physical wars anymore. We are fighting cyber wars over here. We must understand that in the aviation sector, vulnerabilities are there everywhere, be it into the command control center, air navigation systems, or the flight navigation systems. Cyber attack can happen anywhere. So cybersecurity is not an invisible battleground anymore, and it is not an IT problem anymore. It is a problem for the entire aviation industry, and to make skies trustworthy and safe, we all need to work together. Let's take a look. So what do the engineers of tomorrow look like? They are going to be multidisciplinary, sustainable, working on hydrogen fuels and biofuels, and also globally connected at the same time. Because when we talk about sky, it does not have any borders. So for India, when we look at it, India must dream bigger. For us as Indians, the entire Indian market, to have the largest and the fastest growing aviation market, it is just not enough for us. For us to have a technological advantage, we need to start producing jet engines, indigenous jet engines, aircraft structures, aviation systems, and not just parts. The biggest example is when we look at Dubai, which has Emirates as its regional airlines and Singapore as its Singapore Airlines. Nations are branding themselves around the civil aviation capability at the same time. So I really think that what Silicon Valley did for technology, India can also do it for aviation at the same time. Let's take a look. India is known as the third largest civil aviation domestic market. Do any of you know how many airports have started in the last decade from 74 up till? Anybody? Okay, so we have increased double. From 74, we have gone up till 150. And it is also predicted that the airports will increase up to 350 by the year 2047. So who over here believes that India can become a hub of MRO instead of just wonderful? I also think that. And also start exporting drone capabilities and next-gen engine capabilities at the same time. We have talented youth over here who are ambitious, resilient, visionary, and India has the youngest and the largest demography that's available. So I think we must all come together and develop engines, because when our indigenous engines fly high up in the sky, and India, that is the time when India will be known for its engineering capabilities. Let's have a look. So aircrafts are not just known as flying machines, they connect people, economies, and dreams together. I really do believe India has what it takes to take over the skies, because for us, aviation crew, sky is not the limit, that is just the beginning. Let's have a look. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your thought-provoking talk. Your words have resonated with all of us. We request you to stay on the stage for 2 more minutes as we call our core team member, Virika Nanda, to hand over the gift to you.